Let's move on to the 18i. You could say the Renault 18i has been a real sleeper. It's true that at first its reception was lukewarm. There were some problems with the 81 18i's, but they've been corrected. We thought it might be a good idea to ask Howard Mosier to come back and talk candidly about the problems and what's been done to eliminate them. Howard, what about the 18i?
Yeah, the launch of the 18i was a difficult one. It was the first new product introduced since the alliance of the two corporations, and frankly, I think everyone in the whole distribution system, and by that I mean Renault in France, American Motors here in the States, our wholesale organization and our dealer body, were all going through a transition curve, a learning curve, to begin to handle Renault products. We had some product problems, there's no question about that, and recognized them fairly early on and began work to correct them. As I said, they were recognized early on, such things as squeaks and rattles. The vehicle's production was moved from its original plant to the plant at Sandeauville in France, the same plant that produces the R20 and the R30, which are Renault's top of the line, and I think that in and alone brought about a dramatic improvement in product quality. The whole interior of the car has been tightened up. You don't get dash squeaks and rattles anymore. There's been extra insulation added to the product to reduce what we call NVH, harshness and noise and vibration. The brake pads were squeaky initially, not as a problem with the brakes per se, but because the materials in the brake pads were too hard. That material has been revised, eliminating and reducing the brake squeak noise. We have recognized that the amount of heat generated in the engine compartment by the catalytic converter was a problem for some of the electric wiring, some of the harnesses. So we've repositioned harnesses and we've added shields underneath the engine, under the hood in the engine compartment, improving that situation. We've reduced air conditioning, the vibration caused by the air conditioner. The overall feeling you get with the 18i is that it's a more quality vehicle in 1982 than it was in 81. It's tighter and it's quieter. One of the other problems that was noted fairly frequently was performance, agility and quickness of the vehicle. There have been substantial adjustments made in the torque converter, in the shift points. The gear ratios have been improved in the vehicle to give it a performance attribute more in keeping with the kind of vehicle it is and that it competes with. I think that anyone that's driven the 1982 18i will agree that it's really much improved, almost a whole different vehicle from what it was in 81, and 83 will be no different. 83 will continue to be improved.
I don't think there's any question but that they've really made your 18i a truly superb automobile for 1983. And the 18i is going to look every bit the incredible value that it is. In 1983, the 18i sedan and wagon will be offered in only the deluxe version, which, as you may know, was the most popular version in 1982. From now on, 5-speed overdrive, tinted glass, power steering, reclining seats, AM/FM stereo radio, adjustable steering column, tachometer, extra quiet insulation, rear window defogger, steel-belted radial tires, and padded steering wheel will all be standard equipment. But let's not spend time on information that you can get from your product information sheets. Instead, let's pay a visit with another successful Renault salesman. This is Brian Golden from Ypsilanti, Michigan. He's been very successful selling 18i's, and we wanted to find out what he's doing that turns so many of his prospects into 18i customers. Brian, what's your strategy when it comes to presenting an 18i to a customer?
Several different things. One thing I do is I allow the customer, or make sure that the customer actually sits in the car. And that's very important because it's important that the customer tries the car on for size, to see that the car is easy to enter, to see that if it fits well, to see that his head doesn't hit the ceiling, to see that the contours of the seat fit his body comfortably, that he can operate the vehicle with ease. If the car doesn't meet that criterion, then it's useless. The car has no value at all to him. and I point out features to the customer that makes the car of value for the money. The standard features of the vehicle, things like the bioformed individually reclining seats to make it more comfortable ride or seat. I also point out the fact that it has the adjustable steering column to adjust to any size person, and other standard features like the rear window defogger that I don't find standard on a lot of cars today, or the intermittent wipers that are standard on the 18i, or the rack and pinion steering, which makes it easier for the customer to handle the car. Those things are important to me that I try to impress upon the customer, which also depends on what the customer is actually looking for. If I arrive at his hot button, I will gear towards selling him on those features, things that he finds interesting in the automobile, things that motivates him to purchase that automobile. Those are important.
What other aspects of the car do you include in your presentation?
Always I open the hood and show the customer the way the engine is laid out. I do this for several reasons. It's true, it may be a little bit more difficult to work on a fuel-injected automobile, but there still exists a lot of backyard mechanics, and they're always interested in how things are laid out in the engine compartment. I make it important him to understand and know that the car is laid out maintenance-wise much easier to maintain than I find other domestic cars that may be front-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive, for that matter, and point out those features to him. The fact that the distributor cap is located in an easy location to get to, and the spark plugs are right up on top instead of being buried underneath a lot of plumbing, or something very basic and simple as the dipstick, and the fact that it's an easy place to get to. These things are important to me also, to make sure that the customer understands that the car is not complicated, because people are, I feel, afraid to get involved in something that they take one look at and want to totally ignore because they don't know what it is, they don't understand it. That's important to me.
Is there any one thing that you feel really sells the 18i?
Sure. Go for a ride in the car. If you can get the customer behind the wheel of the automobile and take him for a demo ride, give him the opportunity, a hands-on opportunity to actually maneuver the automobile instead of looking at it. It does more than just talking about the car, because a person's senses of actually driving the car and smelling the car and feeling the car sells the car more than somebody trying to convince him to purchase the car. So if you get the customer in the vehicle to sense the ride of the automobile, it almost puts him in a position where he's imagining that he's actually owning the car by driving the car. So his whole frame of reference is changed. He's away from the dealership. It's also important to go for a demo ride for another reason. Demo ride is a showroom without a door. If you've got a customer in the car, you can talk to him about the automobile or let him sense the automobile without having him want to escape, because he can't. He can't leave the car in the middle of the demo ride and walk away.
All right, let's go for a demo ride. Brian, I'd like to have you talk us through the ride. Tell us what you do and what you try to accomplish.
This is an important aspect of a car purchase, is a hands-on aspect of the purchase, or actually driving the car. Gives me the opportunity to do several things. One, it gives me the opportunity to point out how Renault lays out their controls for operating the automobile. To coin a phrase used many times by Renault, this is ergometrically designed. So everything is within hands or arm's reach of the driver. Everything is available to the driver. I find it's very interesting how they lay out the stock controls so that things can be operated on the automobile without having your hands leave the steering wheel. Simple things like the windshield wipers, or operating the horn. Even the hazard lights or the rear defogger is available on a hands-on basis without having to leave the steering wheel to operate those items on the car. Then once I point out or make sure that the customer understands how everything works, to orient the customer to the automobile, then we go for a drive. point out some of the features on the dashboard as he's looking at it. Things like the unique gauge, which is the oil level gauge, which you won't find on any other product because Renault produces that specifically for the Renault product like this. And the way the instrumentation is laid out is very visible to the customer. And we go for a drive. What I do is I like to go on a specific route that gives the customer a variety of driving situations. The first driving situation is a main thoroughfare. The road is relatively smooth. There's a lot of traffic going in and out. Gives the opportunity of the customer to see himself driving it in this same mainstream type situation. But then, because this street is very busy, I like to take him off this street so he can concentrate more on the car than on the automobiles passing in front of him. So what I offer is to have the customer make a right turn at this light. Very often, if I'm alone with a customer at given points when there's a lull in conversation, I'll bring up points about the automobile that the customer cannot see, cannot feel, or touch, which is the warranty on the product, which I usually cover as we're going along. Now, if I'm with a customer and the customer has his wife or spouse or whatever with them, I normally don't say much. I try to keep myself as quiet as possible. This way I'm able to get inside of the head of the husband and wife about what they anticipate or what they're feeling out of the automobile. That's why it's important to go on a demonstration ride because, again, it's a showroom without a door. You'll notice that as we go down this area of the road, it's bumpier. So I point out how Renault engineers and designs comfort and handling on bad pavement, as well as a smooth ride on good pavement. All cars will ride nice on smooth pavement, but this is the true test of the automobile, to feel how it goes over bumps. I even invite them to take it over a pothole or take it over manhole covers, just so they can feel what it's like to put the car in that situation. I go down this aspect of the demo ride because it's now in a residential area. There's also a short set of railroad tracks here too, so it gives the opportunity for the customer to see how the car maneuvers and handles going over bumpy railroad tracks, which is we're just about to hit right here. And this is stop and go type traffic, but in a residential series of locations. So I like to give the customer the variety of seeing different aspects of the automobile in different surroundings and how it handles in different surroundings. There are also several spots in my demonstration route that gives the opportunity for the husband and or wife to trade places. I like to get the wife involved into it also. If the husband is doing most of the talking, I try to prompt the wife to put some input into what's going on also, because she's going to be a pivot point in terms of the decision of what car they will buy. I'm sure that the husband will probably take to heart a lot about what his wife's likes and dislikes are, more so than what my likes or dislikes are. So I think that's important to get the wife involved too. I do that. I even, when I introduce myself to a customer, I make sure that I get the wife's name also and include her in conversation by mentioning her name. That's important, so she doesn't feel like she's just a rider, that she's just going for a ride. Instead, she's an active member of the purchase decision. Then we're back on the main drag again. You'll also notice that I take the customer on all right turns. I find that to be a little bit easier for the customer to deal with, taking it on right turns as opposed to a lot of left turns, especially on up and down this main drag, because it tends to be a little bit more difficult to make left turns on.
I don't have to tell you that the Renault line of automobiles is really starting to make an impact on the American scene. The car and 18i are coming into their own. Fuego is putting some sizzle back into the business and making people stop, look, and take notice of Renault. It's really helping to build recognition of the Renault name. And now, with the all-new Alliance, you have a line of Renault automobiles that offers something for just about everyone who walks into your showroom. Plus, you have a heck of a mileage story to sell. Look at these figures. Le Car, 33 city and 45 highway for the U.S. and Canada. In California, the figures are 2940. And the 18i and Fuego offer 2740, while the Turbo comes in at 2640. Do a favor for yourself and your pocketbook. Become a true expert on these cars. Know your product. As they say, get to know Renault. By the way, why not take time to review the previous 2 sales training discs, one on the Le Car and 18i and the other on the Fuego, since they both contain a wealth of information. As you saw, product knowledge is the key to selling success. Good luck.